up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. It's your boy D Dyson. Almost to the last episode, and I'm surely going to miss this series until season 2. But I could not wait for New Rockstars to break down episode 9 of House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, details that we missed and Easter eggs. Let's check this out.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of House of the Dragon Episode 9. This video is brought to you by Pluto TV, the free streaming platform offering free movies and shows that are 100% free 100% of the time. Episode 9, The Green Council, where the beast beneath the boards is revealed, and it's what Larys Strong wishes he was when those boards are being walked by Alicent barefoot. I'm gonna break down all the Game of Thrones nods and visual details you might have missed. First, an opening credits update. The shot that we've seen in past weeks of the two bloodline branches representing Viserys and Daemon now tilts back to show Viserys' dial for the first time in a while, showing it now flooded with blood to mark his death. Then we follow his bloodline to the green side, joining Alicent. Her dial we now see in close-up a 7-pointed star, and that blood spills downward to 4 dials with their 4 children. Aegon, which is a nude woman with a crown because he's a deviant. Helena, a spider because she's a bug girl. Aemond, a sapphire because under that eye patch is a huge sapphire in his eye socket. And further up on that wall behind them is the 4th kid, Darren, who has been left off screen this season, but confirmed by George R. R. Martin to have been sent to Old Town. He's gonna play a bigger role next season. But then a bloodline from brother and sister Aegon and Helena flows down to their 3 kids, Jaehaerys, Jaehaera, and Maelor. Jaehaerys and Jaehaera have a 6-fingered emblem because in Fire and Blood, George R. R. Martin said Jaehaerys boasted 6 fingers on his left hand and 6 toes on each foot. This is what you get with incest. Then an overhead passing shot shows Daemon's bloodline, which branches one way to where Baela and Rhaena are, but now forks another way toward Rhaenyra's dial. Daemon's blood flows in an aqueduct bridge high over Rhaenyra's stream, maybe suggesting him being a generation older than she is, and then their combined branch flows into 2 dials for their young sons, Aegon and Viserys. This episode opens on the Iron Throne, and all of the Red Keep vacant and dead. Viserys' life truly was the one keystone of peace keeping this whole castle together, and now he is gone. Composer Ramin Djawadi opens with piano, which is not common in Game of Thrones, as it's a more modern instrument, and Djawadi first used it in Game of Thrones for the Light of the Seven in the season 6 finale, which years ago I went deep into in the breakdown script that I wrote for the channel back in 2016 when I had to give my coworkers a crash course in music theory. And back then, Light of the Seven played over a morning montage. And this montage is even earlier in the morning, in the pre-dawn hours. What the Westerosi named hours would probably call the Hour of the Nightingale, which might be the birds that we hear. Child spies like this boy in Game of Thrones when deployed by Varys were called his little birds. This is the network of spies used by Otto since episode 4. If this kid saw Viserys die with his own eyes, according to Talia, it means that this kid either camped out in the king's chamber or would routinely sneak in there to check to see if the king was breathing. This opening music is called Lament, and note the notes that Djawadi uses as the boy descends the steps. I love it. Not only does melody follow the downward action, the last note there is an example of dissonance, when 2 tones clash to create a harsh, unpleasant sound. In this case, it sounds like seconds on a scale, in which the notes are just too close together on a scale to harmonize. So with just this single note, Djawadi communicates the structural tension throughout this episode among the characters. Because this episode, despite it's focused on the green side of the family, it presents several couplets who should harmonize normally, but here are squeezed too close together so that they clash. We see this with Sir Harold and Sir Criston, the brothers Eric and Arik, brothers Aegon and Aemond, and starting here in this scene with Alicent and Otto. Alicent sits behind her father, picking at her fingers, her longtime bad habit returning with her anxiety. Talia lights the candles in the window, which is likely her way of signaling Mysaria from across the city that the king is dead. In a small council meeting, Master of Laws Jesper Wilde rolls the attendance ball to Tywin Lannister. This ball is gold, fitting for House Lannister, suggesting each of these balls represent the house or person, and also signaling that Tywin Lannister is about to take over as Master of Coin. Otto says,
"We grieve for Viserys the Peaceful."
Viserys' whole legacy is really defined in retrospect by peace, and already that era is over. Notice how Otto keeps his ball in his hand for now, but he repeats Alicent's claim that Viserys, in his final words, wanted Aegon to be king.
Yes, there is much to be done, as we've previously discussed. Now,
And just with this placement of the ball, their plans proceed. Tylan says the treasury's gold is already going to be divided for safekeeping. Very big deal for Master of Coin Lyman Beesbury. He's supposed to be in charge of the treasury, but now this Master of Ships just crept into his department. Otto says that they need to send ravens to their allies at Riverrun and Highgarden. Riverrun refers to Lord Grover Tully, mentioned in that land dispute back in episode 6. He's a supporter of the Greens. And remember, Grover has a grandson named Elmo and great-grandsons named Kermit and Oscar. Those are their real names. All these conspirators are in on it, even Maester Orwyle. And Lyman Beesbury will not stand for it. He accuses them of treason and even killing the king. And Sir Criston steps in.
I will have no part.
Down!
The ball smashes into Lyman's eye socket. It really does seem like the show invented these balls just to have something to crush into Beesbury's face. Sir Harold Westerling reprimands Sir Criston, whose job security is as inexplicable as his agelessness. Criston lowers his sword first, but he only sheathes it, synchronized perfectly with the movement of Sir Harold. But Otto forces them all to finish the meeting with Lyman just bleeding out on the table, his pool of blood spreading out like the bleeding dials in the opening credits. Tylan says,
Storm's End is of concern. We may not assume the loyalty of Lord Boris, but he has 4 daughters, all of them unmarried. The right proposal...
What of Rhaenyra?
Storm's End was shown in episode 4, where we met Boros' father, Boromund Baratheon, who was strongly aligned with Rhaenys in the tourney in episode 1. This whole outreach to Boros will end in an epic conflict that we will likely see in the finale. Harold resigns from the Kingsguard, but in the text, his succession is caused by his death, not his resignation. So, like Laenor Velaryon, this leaves another major player alive to play a role in the war to come. His resignation may recall Barristan Selmy dramatically giving up his Lord Commander title in Game of Thrones. Remember, Sir Barristan went on to serve a rival queen. Helena says,
It is our fate, I think, to crave always what is given to another. If one possesses a thing, the other will take it away.
She is talking about her kids, Jaehaerys and Jaehaera, and kids' natural envy, but also a deeper comment on human nature and the power within families. Like everything Helena says, we're gonna revisit this line later, trust me. I like how on the table are candle holders with 7 pointed stars, just further example of Alicent's redecorating based on the faith of the 7. Alicent asks,
Where is Aegon?
Not here.
He's not in his rooms.
yeah, rooms? Aegon has multiple rooms, referring to a main bedchamber, but also other rooms where he does his more messed up stuff. Helena goes silent, just refocuses on her embroidery, which at first looks like a spider. Remember, her dial's sigil in the opening credits was a spider, but this thing only has 6 legs. So maybe an insect like a beetle or a snowfly, or maybe a spider, but she just hasn't added the final 2 legs yet. On Driftmark, she talked about spools of green and black, and spiders and weavers and embroiderers are archetypal symbols of fate. The kids are also playing with these toys that look like they were woven by Helena. It looks like a fly, or maybe a dragon, or maybe a dragonfly, or a bee, or maybe a firefly. I just think that there is an insectoid connection between Helena and Larys, remember, whose cane bore the sigil of a firefly. That 6-legged spider could be a symbol for Larys, a cunning operator and a weaver in his own right, with like 75% walking capacity due to his club foot. Helena snaps again what she muttered at dinner last episode.
There is a beast beneath the boards.
This episode confirms what she meant by that. Rhaenys' dragon Melly smashing up from the depths of the dragon pit. But Helena says it here not as a worried warning, but as a bitter accusation toward her mother, as if Alicent's decision to crown Aegon and to force Rhaenys' hand like that is really to blame for all this. Otto enlists Sir Eric and Sir Auric to find Aegon in the city. Eric is Aegon's sworn protector, but he let Aegon sneak out all the time, likely because he hates the pervy prince and doesn't care if something happens to him. The light of the 7 parallels heighten as Jawadi's score shifts into a new track called Fate of the Kingdoms. Jawadi now mixes in a fuller string section in this bell chime to underscore the resolve that Rhaenys feels after being locked in her chamber. Locking her in like that will prove to be a fatal error in the final sequence. The realm needs the doors opened for Rhaenys, not closed on her. Now in the text, Rhaenys had already fled King's Landing on Dragonback at this point. Remember, we didn't see her at the Last Supper, but this series keeps her around here to set up this climactic exit and to give Eve Best a bigger redemptive hero moment. In many ways, she is the hero of this first season, but like all heroes in Game of Thrones, one who makes a huge friggin' mistake. Pluto TV has on-demand and linear channels curated by real people who select the movies and channels you love. Some of your favorite binge-worthy shows and movies have their own channels that you can watch 24/7. Comedy, drama, sci-fi, horror, and for House of the Dragon fans, plenty of fantasy. They've got it all, and it's all free. Head to pluto.tv to check it all out. Criston and Aemond look for Aegon on behalf of Alicent, who wants to control the succession in a way that doesn't end in Rhaenyra's bloodshed. Aemond says Aegon took him to the Street of Silk on his 13th birthday.
He said time to get it wet.
Every woman is an image of the mother.
to be spoken of with reverence.
Now, it's hard to know how sincere Criston is when it comes to his reverence to the faith, but when he speaks to the mother, he's at least thinking of Alicent, whom he also takes personal offense when people insult her character, and this informs his love for her is not the lust that he had for Rhaenyra, but something closer to what a son feels for his mother. When we first see Otto with the gathered lords, some are already kneeling at the start of that scene, suggesting that Otto had to make little argument for some to recommit their fealty from Rhaenyra to the Greens. But one lord refuses.
I am no oath breaker. I will not bend the knee.
This is Lord Merryweather, a house from the Reach. There's sigil of the cornucopia on his chest there. Lady Fell represents Fellwood from the Stormlands. Alan Coswell is the lord who greeted Rhaenyra last episode in the yard. Larys notices that he's the last one to bend the knee and senses his reluctance and disloyalty. Eric and Arik find a children's fighting ring. The kids' fingernails and teeth are ground down. When one kid swipes at another, you can see a trail of blood mist left in the air. It's just awful. But then again, this civil war to come will be fought most viciously among the children of these family factions. Eric nods to a silver-haired kid sitting off on the side.
Aegon, one of many I'd wager.
This kid is confirmed to be Gaiman Palehair, a character from the text, Aegon's bastard raised on the Street of Silk, who plays a small and pretty sad role in the royal conflicts to come. So I really hope this series gives him a more active role with a name like Game On, because as of now, the implication is that Aegon is breeding kids in order to have a gambling advantage when they fight in this Pee-wee Fight Club, which is some truly depraved shit until you realize it's basically what we do with football. Alicent watches as the Silent Sisters wrap Viserys' corpse, and she holds a handkerchief to her nose because this rotting corpse would likely stink for the several hours that they kept him in this chamber. In the text, they keep his body in this chamber for several days. Alicent asks for Rhaenys' support, telling her that the Iron Throne was hers by blood and by temperament.
We do not rule, but we may guide the men that do. Gently, away from violence and sure destruction, and instead toward peace.
This recalls the Great Council of 1-1 at the start of this series, when the Lords of Westeros chose Viserys over Rhaenys. Again, an argument could be made that the real focal character of this first season is Rhaenys, because it all began with the throne being denied from her. Alicent reveals that they're keeping Rhaenys' dragon Meleys there as a safeguard to keep Rhaenyra from attacking with her dragons. Alicent says,
A true queen counts the cost to her people.
And yet you toil still in service to men. Your father, your husband, your son. You desire not to be free, but to make a window in the wall of your prison.
So here the two women outline their values. For Alicent, it's the cost. For Rhaenys, it's the freedom. And Rhaenys' complete lack of care for human cost becomes clear in this final scene when she wipes out hundreds of civilians in her pursuit of freedom. Otto meets with Mysaria, realizing that she is the White Worm.
Or are you simply a further peel in this stinking onion?
Yeah, produce comes a lot in this exchange. The stinking onion, Mysaria says when Otto's plot ripens. And as of Aegon,
I could have killed him as easily as a wasp on fruit.
so we get this visual of a rotting vegetable replaced with a new fruit on the vine and flying insects threatening it all. Mysaria is a mistress of whispers in conflict with the whispers of Larys and his fireflies. Eric and Arik find Aegon hidden in an altar in this sept, which is not the sept of Baelor because that's not built until later in history. This is a different sept, suggesting that even this sept will be destroyed so that Baelor can build a new one later. With Alicent positioning herself as a devout worshiper of the Seven, the civil war of this series may have a religious war component. Arik fights Criston, but Eric hangs back as Aemond restrains Aegon.
Let me go, or we'll find a ship and sail away, never to be found.
He has similar proposals Sir Criston made to Rhaenyra in episode 5 to give up royal duty and just sail away to Essos. But now Criston knows that wasn't realistic for him, so it's not going to be realistic for the future king. Otto seals a missive to send via Raven, sealing it with green wax. This is likely going to his allies back in Old Town, where his fourth grandchild, Daeron, is. Alicent and Otto argue about the game they're both playing, how Otto moved her around like a piece on a game board, but now that she has Aegon, she is calling the shots, and she chooses peace with Rhaenyra.
My husband would have desired this mercy be shown to his daughter.
Your husband? Or you, his daughter's childhood companion?
This is especially insulting to Alicent, for it was Otto who pushed her out of the role of Rhaenyra's best friend and into the role of the king's new wife. Otto even twists that insult with his final words here.
You look so much like your mother in certain lights.
Remember, it was Otto who made Alicent wear her dead mother's dresses to better seduce Viserys. Larys, we learn, has to deal with Alicent to satisfy his foot fetish in exchange for intel. Remember, in episode 6, Alicent took off her shoes when she sat down with Larys, and now we know why. The scene starts with a close-up of Larys' club foot, so it's just kind of hard not to armchair psychoanalyze his malady and his fetish as being connected. He refers to Mysaria's spy network as spiders and weavers.
And this weaver watches me.
Yeah, and as we cut back to Larys, he is the one watching her here. He's the Weaver. Mysaria is the white worm, and her kids are the little birds. Really, only Helena has been likened with spiders and with weavers. I think he's trying to deflect attention from his own spy operation, and I think Helena might be connected to it. Larys says,
When the queen dies, the bees fly without purpose.
yeah, another instance of Larys' connection with flying insects. It's like he's the fly, proud of being able to evade the spider's web. Eric escorts Rhaenys through the courtyard past the hanging Lord Coswell and through the dungeons past the skull of Balerion. Rhaenys stops to take in this beast beneath the boards, getting inspiration for the power move that she will make at the end of the episode. Myzaria's home burns. We don't yet know if Mysaria herself is dead. In the Dragon Pit, a Septon prepares for the anointing ceremony. A scroll is unfurled with his prayer script, including the refrain of Seven Above, and requests to each member of the Seven to bless and protect them in various ways. The second paragraph references Aegon's conquest and how their enemy's blood runs into the soil, which is an interesting contrast with the blood rivers that flow in the opening titles imagery. They don't flow into the dirt, but onto these stone surfaces. But the blood of their enemies being in the soil means that every tree, flower, and fruit in Westeros is fed by the memory of their enemies, giving a deeper context to the weirwood trees with their blood-red leaves watching these dragon lords in judgment. The third paragraph references a cataclysm visited on the Sept. This is referring to the burning of the Sept of Remembrance during the Faith Uprising, in which Maegor the Cruel used Balerion to burn the Sept, and on its ashes, he built this dragon pit where they now stand. So this pit is a begrudging hallowed ground for the Septons, and one could argue, cursed to the Targaryens. The crown laid out is not Viserys' crown, the one also worn by Jaehaerys, but Aegon the Conqueror's iron crown with its rubies, the one last worn by Maegor the Cruel. But Alicent is trying her best to legitimize Aegon II's ascension with symbolism of the Conqueror, his crown, his sword Blackfire, and his dagger. Alicent gives Aegon this dagger in the carriage, and simply holding this dagger seems to hypnotize Aegon with a sense of destiny. Alicent begs him not to put Rhaenyra to the sword, but he seems not to hear her, similar to how Cersei and Sansa will beg the boy king Joffrey to show mercy to Eddard Stark, and Joff will ignore the wailings of women. Aegon takes the walk. Yeah, Jawadi uses the same King's March theme that he used for Viserys' long walk last episode. The Septon who anoints Aegon is Septon Eustace. This is the Septon attached to the Red Keep from this point forward during the Civil War, and the one whose historical account forms the basis of the in-universe history of Fire and Blood. Criston is the one who crowns Aegon.
The crown of the conqueror, passed down through generations.
And with this crown, Aegon does fulfill Viserys' dream that he told Emma back in episode 1.
The dream. It was clearer than a memory. Our son was born wearing Aegon's iron crown.
And what will follow in the wars to come is what he dreamt, the sounds of thundering hooves and the splintering shields. One by one, Aegon's family members bow their heads in respect, but Aemond only gives the slightest nod. King Aegon II basks in glory, and Alicent allows herself a relieved smile, but it really just seems like that smile is the fateful trigger. Rhaenys' dragon, Meleys, explodes out of the pit beneath. And I love how when she roars, you can hear a distinctive female cry there. Rhaenys walks the dragon up to the dais, and Alicent steps forward, putting Aegon behind her. Aemond and Helena, though, interestingly, hold firm. Aemond has faced down a dragon before, the largest dragon in the world, Vhagar, and Helena, as a dreamer, is empowered in this moment. She now knows that she truly is a prophetic dreamer, and because she has visions of the future, she knows that she's not gonna die here. Now again, Rhaenys and Meleys crashing Aegon's coronation is not in the text. This was unique to the series. Rhaenys could have ended the conflict here just by torturing everyone on the stage, but chooses not to, which I guess is a good thing for us, because otherwise there would be no more show after this. But within the context of the story, Rhaenys just made a fateful mistake that would cost countless more lives in a civil war that she knows will follow. Eve Best told Vulture in an interview that Rhaenys has respect for Alicent as a woman and a mother, and she said it's an intelligent choice not to torch a whole bunch of innocent people in the room, that it's not her battle. The writer of this episode was asked by The Hollywood Reporter how Rhaenys justifies that with killing a bunch of civilians by even busting out, and the writer said, "It's Game of Thrones, civilians don't count." But you know, it's not also Game of Thrones, it's House of the Dragon, you can make different choices, you don't have to have dragon riders wantonly killing civilians without provocation, but whatever. But this beast beneath the boards is just the start of the family's reckoning. A false sense of duty and destiny that curses every single one of these Targaryens. Arguably, Rhaenys wouldn't have had the idea to do this had she not passed the skull of Balerion beneath the castle of the Red Keep. And Aegon II wouldn't be so fortified in his resolve if this coronation wasn't embarrassed like this. And had he never been enchanted by Aegon's cursed dagger. With every generation, that message just gets further and further bastardized. And thanks again to Pluto TV for sponsoring this video. Pluto TV offers live channels and on-demand blockbuster movies. Stream now, pay never. You can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at EAVOS. Subscribe to New Rockstars. Thanks for watching. Bye.
That was always the talk of, you know, from Sunday till now. It's just, why didn't Rhaenys just end the Greens? Like you could have just said Dracarys, but it would have been no House of the Dragon after that if she did. So obviously a play on, this is something that's not in the book, as you know, they mentioned that they want to make a dramatic escape, just for her to stare them down. I feel like, you know, I'm happy that we saw something crazy like this, but at the same time, if she would have been queen, you know, she would have spared the civilians. So it kind of doesn't really line up. But as they say, it's Game of Thrones, civilians don't count, you know, but you know. So that's why I sit there and tell myself what she would have been like if she would have been queen. But that's why she always going to have that discernment with her as far as seeing Aegon rule, and then especially talking to Alicent before all this is like, and then you have the nerve to lock me in my room like as a prisoner while you do all this and not even inform Rhaenyra. I don't like the way that you moving. So, but as she looked at it as, it's not my fight, I'm leaving. But I am going to go tell Rhaenyra, hey, this is going on. So that's why I sit there and tell myself, fatal move that she made by not ending the war before it started. But it's Game of Thrones. It's Game of Thrones. And we're going to see more of what they change in the show versus what's in the book, you know, and just to make it for a more dramatic flair. As we all know, we love it. It's TV. It's TV. So, if you guys enjoyed my reaction to House of the Dragon, Episode 9, breakdown Game of Thrones, Easter eggs, and details that we missed, subscribe to my channel. Post comment down below, like the video. Support. It's your boy, D. Dyson. Peace.